is so like crowded by stuff. I think genuinely, it's hard for her to see different ways. Right now, well, I think obviously I know like in that moment she probably did feel more loved at the time because she's losing people, and for her to, and also, if you realize it, I think her and the number 2 right now is going through something, because if you think about episode 3, he said me and Thaler together for 2 years, you were with us for just 2 months, and now he's saying it took me only 2 days to see how special you were. And I think just hearing like you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Because she's so smart, she's trying to figure out what all the synchronicities
exactly mean. 2 and 6 are like her numbers right now, 6 steps ahead, you know what I'm saying? So I think just him saying that she did feel more loved by it, but I think also
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Continue. I love the answer. It's a really, really good answer.
You didn't even hear the answer, Daniel. Okay, but no, yeah, that's my answer, because I forgot everything. Because Daniel, yeah.
It was a great answer.
I think you have a more interesting answer than I do.
That was kind of scary. I don't know.
What is it?
Well, I feel like for Grover, I think it informs, what future Grover is supposed to be, strictly because, he's younger, and so it's more so like, okay, I played a certain way when I'm young, so this is what I can and can't do when I'm old, But I think for Luke, there's a much more varied,
yeah,
it's more nuanced for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's just like seeing the reality of what that was, being like a young kid, and like, even though they were on the streets, they were happy in a way, and like they had their own little family, and that's quickly taken away from him. And I think I think I've said this before, but Thalia is like one of his biggest motivators in all that he's doing, because she was kind of the first person that he met that he truly understood, and that truly understood him, and she was just taken away from him in the blink of an eye. And so I think he doesn't want, like, he's seen the wrath of the gods, and he doesn't want that to happen to anyone else. And so, yeah.
Watching the flashbacks, and if we're talking about just generally how I like learned from it, not book fans or like people who haven't read the books have never seen this before. So I'm just generally curious about how they're gonna think about it. And the way how I move now is I had nothing to fall back on. So now it was all just based off of, straight when it's like what you've read about the books and how the relationship was and what Percy has seen from it and what we filmed. But to be able to read the scripts and learn the backstory now and learn about how long Annabeth was with them, it changes your entire mindset now. And it also changes the way how you think, because he said 2 years, I was 2 months. So, but to a child, 2 months feels like forever.
Yeah, being that
so
young.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just, yeah, I have to think about everything now when those flashbacks came. So thank you to whoever thought about putting that in there.
Well, I mean, because she's lived her entire life thinking that the only way to do something right is to do it by yourself. And like her entire life, she's like had the burden of being the leader. Well, self-inflicted burden, truly, but it's also prophecy. Like, it's designed for you to not really understand what it means for you until you go through it. That's the entire point of, you get it, you go through it, and then you understand what it means. That's the lesson. So I think the whole fail without friends thing it's just the natural course of prophecy, in my opinion.
I think it's the moment that Tyson realizes that Percy's kind of like bringing him along for the ride. I think for Tyson, as soon as he finds out he's Poseidon's son, he's like, oh, we're brothers. So I think for him, it's immediate. But I think the actual connection of the relationship is definitely the one time where he's like, I'm part of the quest, finally, officially, fully. So that I think for him, that's such an incredible moment. Yeah.
I think for Percy, it might be the moment where he's like, Tyson's my brother. He was a little back and forth about it before.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like these moments ahead, like even before that, we're on the chariots, like there's like these moments of connection as well. I think it's the first time that he utilizes him as his brother, like fully kind of like seen him as an equal on the quest. Yeah. But I think the connection is brought forward before that as well.
It was weird for me not being there because I'm like neighbors with him,
And so we'd like go to the gym or like go get food, and I'd have to hear like I only ever saw him during the night and never during the day. And the same went for Leah. Like I never saw you guys when we were working.
Yeah. No.
I only ever saw you guys when we were hanging out.
During lunchtime when you go get the lunch or something.
Yeah,
which
which
you
we-
think is-
Drive in to get lunch and
That is so not true. I'd drive in for other stuff, but I'd make sure to come before lunch so I could get lunch first.
he was part of the camera crew for like a week.
Yeah.
I got to do like a day or like a nice full day, but he got to do like an entire week, and he really like did all of the hours. And it's interesting, like when I'm talking about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's so interesting it's so awesome how he like, you know, went there and stayed the whole time. But like that's just what everyone else in the crew does every day, and he just got a little taste of it. And like just from talking to him, I mean, how was it? I mean, I'm
It was
trying to
tough,
pass it off
man.
to you, but
Thank you. No, it's I agree with what you said, especially about like it's just what everyone else does. I'm sorry, we're taking your question in a whole different direction.
yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. This is interesting to learn. I didn't know that you did, like, you shadowed the crew basically for a week.
I did. I didn't. I don't know. I didn't want to get in the way of anybody, but I also wanted to be a part of the film. I'd always been interested in the camera crew, and so I asked our second AC, our second assistant camera, or as they would say in Europe, camera assistant, as Tamara keeps reminding me. I asked him like if I could basically be his intern for a week, and he was like, yeah. And they hazed me, and I stayed the entire time. And it was a lot of fun. I was during the Ironclad, so because none of them wanted to go up, they just sent me up to like mark everyone. They're like, "Yeah, you guys, you're gonna go and lay all the marks," which was a lot of fun. I got to slate. I changed lenses. I cannot believe they trusted me enough to do that.
My stunt double Aisha,
She's
she did
insane.
so good. Like first of all, let me tell you how proud I am in this in episode 4, especially when Annabeth falls off of the boat, like
Yeah.
the ship. I have a video of her actually doing the flip. No harness, like I said, like no, there is a harness actually. She has a harness, but the harness is completely loose. It's only I lied again. She has no harness. The thing
It just keeps getting crazier.
He just
So-
wants to mess with you, I think.
So you know the bag, like the bag that Annabeth, like the Hermes bag. Basically, when she had flipped, it got caught onto like the thing that you rope the thing around, like on the boat.
Oh,
it
yeah.
got caught up on her neck, and she was hanging from the thing, and she was completely fine. And her hair and the braids, like the braids wig was caught like up in the thing, and it was on her neck, and it was twisted, and she literally like all she did, she just like she has so much core strength. She literally took her arms and pulled herself up, and then like released herself from the thing.
She's
and
like
it
a
was that.
professional fighter.
She's just fighting for a belt. And
She could kill every single person on set.
Yeah,
She's
she has not.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I mean, I think one of a few this season. I think the management of being more to each other than just someone who is similarly lonely to me, being somebody who comes to this relationship with a really specific history and baggage and damage and the ability to be honest about that and disclose it to each other. I think is happening in chapters. I think through the season, but and I think that's right in the middle of the season is a big one for her to be opening that door, I guess, to him and willing to make herself vulnerable in that way.
Well, we talked at the very beginning about how that same thing I said about how when you're away from people for a while, you're never quite sure where you stand a bit. Even though you're great friends, it's quite a hard thing to reestablish that. And because they are fundamentally different people. Percy's grown up in the real world with a mum and school and friends and that sort of thing. And Annabeth has really been a sort of camp kid for a long time and doesn't really necessarily understand that world. So they're quite from different backgrounds. So that coming together is quite interesting. And they have a common purpose, obviously, but then they are slightly confused about how that can work out together. So when we talk about those scenes, we know also, of course, we have a sense slightly that where this will ultimately end up. And that to me is quite interesting too, because obviously we know the books and people know the books. And so I'm very careful about how we see future situations in their relationship throughout the season. And I think that's quite important. So we did that too. But I think it's really a question of them just kind of sort of working it out. And I feel that it's important that it goes in stages. It's not a thing that doesn't fix itself immediately. There's no quick fixes to these situations. And I think because they are both smart and clever and interesting people. They work out in their own way, and therefore I wanted to feel quite naturalistic. And so they have difficult moments together, which are really important. It's never a smooth ride, which I think is great. And they have sort of, that thing when you miss each other a bit, you kind of don't quite understand what the other person is saying, or not choose to read the wrong thing into it, but hear the wrong thing sometimes. And that all feels very relatable, very real to me. And so I was very keen to make these things very grounded, because in our show, it's the kids that carry the emotional weight. It's the kids that carry the narrative weight. And often the adults are either buffoons or like great, wise people. So there's not much, but the kids are the ones, like when Percy talks to Tantalus and says, "Are you serious right now?" That's kind of what I feel like their whole attitude was towards adults in the show a bit, because the gods are complicated and the gods are quite self-obsessed in some ways. And the kids are the ones who are looking out for each other and looking out for themselves, which I think is a really interesting idea. Percy's new to this. He's very new. I mean, he's been there a year, and so obviously he doesn't know that. He knows what his mum has told him, which is mostly true and correct and right, because his mum's wise and right most of the time. But he makes interpretive points about it. And I think with Annabeth too, she has a quite complicated situation, because she too has a complicated relationship with her parent. Her godly parent is a complicated thing with Athena. So I think she brings that. And then Luke, of course, is basically dismissive of the entire situation, even though we know that Hermes likes him and loves him. And you see in episode 2 where Hermes talks about Luke in a very fatherly way, in a way you haven't really seen before, which is so nice. And so they all have this quite complicated relationship with their own parents, and that informs their thinking about how this works. But what happens is that the paths they choose to take action about that are very different, and that's where they kind of diverge. And it's actually something, obviously, as you know, becomes more and more complicated, and we're currently making Titan's Curse, which it gets even more complicated in, because we have a whole Annabeth Thalia Luke situation too, which is amazing, which is we set up in episode season 2, but it really doesn't resolve itself season 3, because that's a whole Thalia situation too with Luke. And these are the dynamics within the relationship of the basically they are lead quest members. Each season has different quest people, but these are the main dynamics of the quest. And it gives the quest such a brilliant kind of underpinning of emotional resonance and idea that it's not just about succeeding the quest, it's about how you get there and what you have to do to get there. And that is just brilliant for us, because it's a dramatic engine. It's very, very helpful.